Welcome to the Soulful Mystics podcast. I'm Steph.
And I'm Julie, and we are intuitive hypnotists, sharing our journey along the way. Hello, mystics. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Sarah to our podcast. Sarah was featured in last week's episode 46, Wolf Guardian, A Journey Through Grief. And you might remember her as Scout's mom from Season 1, Episode 33, Eerie Encounters, Listener Stories. She's also a valued member of our kinship community created by Gina Sear of Past Lives and the Divine. If you haven't caught up on those episodes yet, we highly recommend giving them a listen. Steph and I extend our heartfelt thank you to Sarah for not only sharing Scout's story back in October, but also for graciously sharing her recent session with Steph and returning to discuss it with us. Before we dive in to our conversation, a quick reminder, Steph and I have launched an email list. We invite you all to join as it's the perfect way to stay informed about our latest updates, upcoming promotions, workshops, and anything else on the horizon. And there's something special for our cherished listeners. Both Steph and I are offering an exclusive discount with coupon code SMP10, which is redeemable at both soulfulstephanie.com and soulseekerhypnosis.com. For those of you who'd like to connect with us on TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, you can find the podcast at Soulful Mystics Podcast, Steph at Soulful Stephanie Hypnosis, and myself at Soul Seeker Hypnosis. We deeply appreciate your ongoing support for being a part of our journey. If you could take a moment to like, follow, share, or leave us a 5-star rating and review, it would truly mean the world to us. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this enlightening conversation with Sarah.
So, Sarah, have you done a few group hypnosis before?
No, I'm new to all of this. Yeah.
Okay, so the regression we did was your first time, like, ever?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I had done some on my own, which were fun, but yeah, I would tend to fall asleep.
Yeah, I don't know why, but me too. Did you think that it was going to be like that for you? Did you expect the way that it happened, or was it very different from what you expected?
I didn't know what to expect, but yeah, I was worried that I would fall asleep, so I was kind of propped up a little bit higher.
No, that's perfect. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun and really unexpected.
Tell us about it if you want, whatever you want to share.
I was nervous going in. I don't know why. I just tend to be nervous with new experiences, but I felt like I was a little bit worried about what I would see or what it would feel like. The images just came in pretty quickly, and I felt like I kept explaining it to you with like a question at the end of my statement, like, is this what I'm seeing? Maybe, I don't know. Just because I don't know, just being brand new into that feeling into your intuition in that way is new to me. I don't know. It was a great experience for me to get to understand how I receive images or feelings and what that looks like. And I had to voice them to you, so it's not just in my head. I had to communicate it, which is difficult for me. That felt like a really good growth opportunity, which is why I felt like joining kinship would be really good for me, because it's not just me. I have to share and actually communicate and like verbalize. And I think that really helps the experience too, that talking about it and having someone there to walk you through it and ask you the questions, and you have to answer. It's not just in your head that I'm kind of used to being just in my head sometimes.
Yeah. Do you feel like you got visuals? Was it knowings? Was it a mix of information?
It was both. I think to start, I had the visual of the snowy landscape. That was really beautiful. And I love winter. I love snow. So that was very peaceful. But yeah, it was, I just didn't expect it at all, any of it. I thought maybe I'd move into like a past life that was more connected with maybe like my husband, because that had been on my mind a lot of what I wanted to see. I wasn't expecting at all to see wolves or snow or anything like that. the images came in pretty strong. And it was also a feeling too. Like some of it was kind of fuzzy. Like I wasn't seeing it playing out like a movie, maybe like one image, but then I could get the feeling of what was happening to add in.
I think being nervous, especially for your first time, is totally normal and totally natural. Everybody that I have worked with and it's been their first time, that's the number one thing they say to me. I love that your experience was so unexpected. And I think that's the beauty of it because we don't always get what we want out of the session or necessarily what we are expecting to get out of the session, but it's always what we need. Maybe this is just what you needed at the time, and having your expectation exceeded by having something that was more connected to animals was the ticket for you. I don't know. I love it. I think that's my favorite part about hypnosis. I always tell my clients to expect the unexpected. I mean, drop all expectations and just be open to whatever is going to come through. It's amazing. It's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I agree. And what was interesting about the way that you described how you struggle with communicating out loud, or that was more difficult, which it can be. Julie recently did a regression with me and she had trouble translating the messages. So it can happen. You could be doing this like us constantly. One time it might be more difficult, but what was interesting was that you in this life lived with a pack of dogs or wolves. Something like you understood nonverbal communication a lot easier. So maybe that could play a part in why it was a bit more difficult to translate those messages or what you're experiencing. And then the next one, if you are more surrounded by humans, I'd be interested to see if it's a little easier. Might not be, but I mean, practice and you did a great job communicating everything.
The one thing that stood out to me was how she recognized the body language. So, can you maybe explain that a little bit? Because that is huge. And I think that could help others in hypnosis as well, because we communicate so differently no matter what kind of being we are in hypnosis, whether we're an animal or an extraterrestrial or a human or whatever. Yeah, if you have anything that you could give us more insight on, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I was relating it to my relationships with my own dogs. It felt like that, but like times 1,000. I don't know if there was just more. There was 11 or 12 in that scene. And I could just feel like when I'm around my own dogs, you can feel their energy, and sometimes it can be stressful or depending on how they're behaving. Like I can just feel they're having to attune to them really strongly. And that's how I was feeling, but like times 1,000 in that session, that I had to be attuned to each one and what they were doing and what they were feeling. And I think I said like I could feel them all inside my head at that moment. I wasn't able to quite untangle all of that, but I could just feel like the capacity and just the weight of all of their little beings in my head. In the moment, I wasn't like seeing or interpreting behavior. I could just sense that I knew everything that was going on. And there was that telepathic connection or that deeper soul connection that I do really feel with my own animals, which is interesting because I started to feel a little bit sad in the session for a couple reasons, I think. But one of them was that I miss that really deep connection with that many animals. I've only had dogs for 5 years of my life right now. I never had pets as a kid. And
What? Sorry, keep going.
And it's just been so amazing to have connection to animals now in my life. And I appreciate them so much and love them so much. I don't know, it just felt like what I have now is a fraction to what I had in that life with all of those wolves or dogs. I know in the session too, I kept interchanging wolf and dog because I'm like, these can't be wolves. Who like has pet wolves? But they looked like wolves. So that was really interesting. Yeah.
You're such a natural animal communicator.
I find that fascinating as well. And maybe that is why you saw this life, to show you that beautiful gift that you have. I wonder, do you think in that hypnosis, you were interchanging the words wolf and dog because your subconscious was showing you that you have that connection in your current life as well?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think definitely. And, dogs are wolves and they come from wolves. So
yeah,
they are little wolves in a way. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And I've always been interested in wolves. I have a handful of books on wolves. I just didn't looking back, I'm like, oh, I guess I could could have expected of some connection to wolves, but I don't know. I did not expect it. But I do love wolves. I love reading about wolves. I love the history of wolves and my state here. It's super interesting to learn about them and they represent and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still have to show you the puppies of the
Oh,
husky wolf
yeah.
hybrids that I had when I was younger. I had a husky, a Siberian husky, and she mated with a lone wolf and they had babies. So cute. They were adorable. They just look like bigger huskies because they didn't unfortunately get to live very old, but they were just, I don't know, so special. And I think they have hybrid wolves around here in some of the sanctuaries that we have here because it can eliminate some of the diseases that that wolves can carry. So it's almost like saving the wolves by doing that kind of hybrid, which is really interesting how they do it. I don't know too much about it, but I heard that once. And also, I had a reader once tell me that I would have wolf hybrids when I opened my rescue. Just saying, Sarah and Julie, both of you move to Canada, please. Sarah's going to take care of the puppies,
Yeah,
and I'll get
exactly.
I'll get the oldies, and then Julie will do all the in between and help take care of the cats because cats scare me a little bit.
My cat would scare you because he is a pain.
Especially the orange ones. You got to watch out for the orange ones. And you named him Pistol, so you're kind of asking for trouble there.
We
Okay.
knew it right from the start.
Yep. Again, you not having pets growing up is just extra proof that you've had past lives with wolves and with animals, many of them. Not many people could just communicate with a pack of wolves. You did it in that life, and you did it in a way you said that it was a universal way of communication. And I thought that was really interesting because as an animal communicator or someone who can communicate with pets, that's kind of how we see it, right? Sometimes it's even more easy to read an animal and a pet than it is a person because there is just a universal body language and way of communicating. Have you dove into animal communication or practicing that? And is that something that you're looking to do?
I don't know, again, like it's hard to communicate because it's so close to me in a way. I don't know, it's hard to see or communicate because it just is in a way. I really like that idea of doing that. I've seen an animal communicator for all of my dogs, and she's been amazing to talk to. I'm just so new to my, I don't know, like awakening, I guess. I'm just so new to all of this that I'm not fully connected to everything, but it's definitely something I feel is natural and that I would want to do. I mean, I love my animals and
you're a natural, so I mean, you've done it for many lifetimes, I believe.
So there's a lady in my town that actually teaches animal communication, and I've been thinking about taking her class. The time hasn't been right yet, but I have a friend who took her class and she did a reading for me with my dog Ava, who is a rescue, and the amount of detail she was able to get from doing that. So I think I've shared this story before, but really quickly, my dog Ava has been afraid of us doing the laundry ever since we got her, like 3 years ago, just terrified. I mean, she would shake, she would go hide under my desk at the other end of the house. We moved in September and she didn't have a hiding space here. So she would just shake uncontrollably. And finally, I asked my friend, can you find out what is going on with her? And she got this whole image of Ava and another dog playing in the laundry. And then she sees an arm come and like swat them away. In doing that, something happened where the other dog was no longer there. Not necessarily meaning that this incident is what caused this other dog not to be there, but Ava associated this incident with why her friend was no longer with her. In my mind, I thought, oh, did both of them get surrendered at the same time? And I didn't know that because Ava came from Texas. I live in Wisconsin. So she was transported up here and she wasn't with another dog at the time. If I would have known, I would have kept them together, but I had no idea until just a couple months ago that this was even part of her life. I didn't know anything about her life before. Now, Ava will lay on the bed while we're doing laundry. And it seems like such a small thing, but this is a dog that experienced so much trauma. I mean, she was so traumatized because of this. And now, I mean, sometimes she looks a little uncomfortable, but just that the fact that she stays on the bed while we're doing laundry is amazing. It is such a huge change. And I only hope that it'll continue to get better and she'll become more and more comfortable. Also, certain things like before, I always felt like I needed to go into protective mode, but me going into protective mode made her like more scared because it told her like there was a reason for her to be afraid. And I wasn't understanding that. And instead, my friend, after taking this class and she talked with Ava, she said, go about the laundry in a more playful manner. Play with her with the clothes. I'm the type of person, like, my bed is my dog's bed. I don't care what other people think about that. Like, they can run around on my clothes, do whatever they want. I don't care. This is their room, their bed too, whatever. In changing the way I was behaving, meaning like my body language, it changes the way she acts. And that is something that I never considered before. So I think, in that we're all learning, but just my friend was only in class when she did this reading, and it had such a huge impact, and it taught us so much. This stuff is legit. I mean, it really, truly is.
Yeah, I agree. And I like to do animal communication, but my heart can't take a whole lot. I like to do the more like the happier, or I don't know, what I focus on now rather than do animal readings. I'd be curious to ask Deb this too, if she does this or if any of you do this. But whenever I'm driving and I see an animal close to the road, I always ask or talk to them, like, stay away from the road, stay safe. And it has always worked for me. Another thing is I went to my nephew's school and they have these big, heavy doors that just slam shut. And a chipmunk followed us in. And so just like in this little entryway with a chipmunk, and they were going to open the door in the inside to go into the school. And I was like, no, because then they're going to end up killing this chipmunk if, I don't know. I just wanted it to be safe. So instead, there was a little girl with me, and I didn't know her. She just came in at the same time. And I opened the exterior door and I said, okay, it's time to go, buddy. And he just like walked on out. She was like, can you talk to animals? I was like, yeah, I sure can. You can too. And I explained a little bit of how to do that to her, which is just like we speak to humans. She was just like looking at me like I was an alien from another planet. And I thought that was really beautiful to be able to, and thank God that chipmunk listened to me, because I'm not saying they all listen to me all the time. They do what they want to do. But in that moment, I think he wanted to listen, because in my mind, I was like, you're not safe if you go in that way. Like, how many kids are in the school? Like, it's just not a good environment for a chipmunk. So he just like skedaddled. And do you ever do that with like wild animals or when you're driving?
Yeah, I love seeing animals, especially birds. I love seeing, like, there's an owl that stays in a tree outside of our bedroom window that I really like to listen to at night and just think about what they're up to and what they're doing. Yeah, I do. I feel like anyone who has dogs or any kind of animal, I'm sure, but I'm most familiar with dogs. You just know that, they have feelings and they have their little personalities, and it's just so obvious. And the way that they look in your eyes. My dogs have a lot of eye contact with us that I really like. And sometimes I feel like I can see like a person when I look in their eyes. Specifically my dog, Mia, the way her eyes move and look at me, it reminds me of my dad in a weird way. I just see that in him. It's so interesting. I don't know. It's really hard for me to believe that someone who has a dog wouldn't feel these things, but I suppose they could. I mean, some people don't treat them too well.
I love that. Honestly, I look at Binks and I see a human too. I kind of see myself. I feel like she looks like me. And I do agree that people and their pets can start to look alike in some way. I don't know. Like, I think it might be an energetic thing as well, maybe, or it really is, because she has like yellow eyes, not blue eyes. And well, there's a lot of differences, but I can still see myself in her. And Max will look at her and see his grandfather. So I think it's an energetic thing in some way. And just like the expressions, she's so expressive. And I haven't sent you all the videos and pictures I'm going to send you now that we're friends. Julie's laughing because I send her pretty much everything. A lot, but it's so funny. Like, they just have their own little personalities, and I would have 15 more dogs if I had the space. And as long as I could take care of them all and give them all the attention they deserve, I would continue. One thing I wanted to bring up, the spirit guide portion, you were like a pro. So I know you had a reading with Jude from, is it Spirit Speakers?
Mm-hmm.
She said that you're a blue avian. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, avian. Yeah.
Avian. Like, now seeing you and speaking to you, 100% you're a starseed, just based on the session. Your name, your soul name. I asked you what your soul name was, and I hope I don't bash the pronunciation. Aurelion?
Oh yeah, my spirit guide. Yeah, Orlean.
Orlean. Yeah, so that was the one that the dancing one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The tall man.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a bit about that? Because that was just so happy. Like it just gave me all the
Oh,
happy
yeah.
feelings.
Definitely, yeah. I felt like, oh wow, I really tested myself with these questions for the spirit guides. And I'm like, I wasn't ready to interpret what I was getting for some of these answers, but that part came in really clear. And that was so interesting because he came in like a darker blob. And we talked a little bit about this, that you won't be able to interpret something you can't comprehend yet. But he seemed like he was 10, 12 feet tall. Definitely male energy, but very strong but gentle, kind type of energy, like benevolent, masculine kind of energy. Yeah, it felt like very strong, but all of a sudden he just like dancing and mimicking a bird. His like moving his arms up and down and twirling in a circle. I know, I love that so much because I've been recently listening to more music and blasting it in my house and dancing and feeling really connected to music. And I felt like that was such a reassurance from him. Like, keep doing that. I like when we do that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much. I don't know, it almost felt like he was wanting to connect in that way or show like, this is a good thing to do. I want to do it too. I'm not such a serious, I don't know, whatever I would think maybe he would be like. It was so
Yeah.
unexpected, but that came in super strong. And he kept doing it. And I felt like, hello, you're supposed to help me with these questions and you're just dancing over here. Um, but I loved it so much. And then I thought, yeah, it was weird. He was like mimicking a bird, is what I said, the way he was moving his arms. Then I was thinking, does he have like wings or is this like a cape or what? I couldn't quite tell. Like it was just kind of fuzzy. So
Yeah.
when I was trying to see him, I felt like I was relying more on what I was feeling, or like he was more in my peripheral vision. I couldn't like see him straight on. So that was interesting too.
And I think the way you describe him maybe relates to what beings may look like from that. Is a starseed like from a galaxy, or is it a galaxy? Like where your soul is from, right? Like where you came from. Because 10 to 12 feet tall, like it all seemed like a being from another universe, or something that we don't know too much here on Earth anyway. But also, I think when I asked for you, how will you know he's with you? He did bring up birds, and when you mentioned, seeing the birds outside the window, maybe that's him visiting you, and that's why he's so connected to flapping his wings. Like maybe that was his sign to tell you with a nonverbal communication of emotion, which you were used to in that life, and it was his way of saying, I come in bird form. I don't know, but yeah, he just like the whole mood and energy kind of, you could feel it. I could feel it from all the way over here, and I'm very far from where you are. So it was really amazing. And I think the one thing that you asked, which I don't know if you remember, but what you're learning in this life.
Yeah, I remember a little bit about that. I think I said, or I am learning how to have more action in this life, or how to engage more, rather than, I guess, what I'm used to being is like more in my head or not as engaged with the world around me. I can't remember quite what else I said, but that's kind of what the feeling was, that I'm learning how to pursue more, explore more, do more, talk more.
Yeah. And I think that also goes along with what you just mentioned about his dancing and why you feel that big connection, because part of being human is living in this earth suit, this body, even though it sucks a lot of the time. It's getting out there and doing something fun with your body, like dancing in the kitchen and interacting in those ways. Maybe that was his message, and it was just such a beautiful message to say. And you had also said learning to be human, and it makes a lot of sense if you're always up in the top chakras, like your crown and your third eye, which I understand too, because it's really hard for me to be in my body. Sometimes it's just like, it's so restricting and it just doesn't feel good all the time. Yet when you're in that space of spirit guides and in hypnosis, it just feels so good and free. And I love that he was showing you from his, even beyond the veil, that dancing is something that can help you connect with your body. I think that was really cool.
I think it's very grounding too. And when I listened to your session, a lot of talk about being in nature and connecting with nature. That is also very grounding as well, which will help you feel more comfortable in your body when you can stay grounded and connected. at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. They
And
definitely did that.
I find it so interesting too. I recently did a session with a client where she was very connected to nature as well, and animal communication, nature, spirits, everything. It was so prevalent in this life and in her life today. And I think that's one thing that we tend to forget about when we're in this human existence is connecting with nature is so important. And I feel like it's one of the most simple things that we can do is go outside, be in nature. But our lives get so busy. I know my life is so busy, especially right now. It's just that time of year. And I've been feeling it, the disconnectedness. It's just like one of the simplest, easiest things we can do is go outside. It is just that simple. I don't
Yeah,
know.
even just looking at the sky, like
Yeah.
it seems so simple, but just look up and take 10 seconds and look up right straight
Oh my
above
God.
you. It feels so good.
Yes, yesterday. So I live in Wisconsin. Yesterday, December 8th, it was 50 degrees here. It was such a beautiful day. The sky was clear. There was a few clouds. And when you looked up, there was a rainbow light in the sky. And all throughout the day, this rainbow light was there. It wasn't like a full rainbow, like an arced rainbow or anything like that. It was just this light, almost like a rainbow cloud. And sometimes during the day, it would change, like it would be like a rainbow streak. It was so interesting. And I could not stop looking at it yesterday. I was taking pictures and I sent Steph pictures and like, this is so cool, this rainbow light. I'm someone too where maybe I don't go outside as much as I would like to, but I am so connected to the sunrise and the sunset. And if I can just catch a glimpse of that, it is so peaceful to me and it lights me up. I just love it. Connecting with nature doesn't have to be anything, difficult or like, oh, I got to make time to go outside. No, just do it. It's so easy. And it comes up time and time again in these sessions, but us humans tend to forget how important it is.
And I know Julie sends me amazing photos of the water and the sunset and sunrise. I'm more of like a moon and stars gazer. Maybe because I don't like to go outside during the day because I don't want to talk to people. But
And that's still nature, by the way.
yeah, it is. Do you live anywhere, Sarah, that's like with trees or anywhere that you like to go with your dogs?
Yeah, more of a rural area. Get out daily with the dogs, and I love it. I've always done that, even as a kid. A lot of walking, hiking. I love it. That's kind of my exercise, just walking for miles. Yeah, but yeah, like Julie said, it doesn't have to be a ton of space or something really special. It can be something small to connect to.
Something that I found interesting about wolves was after the session with you, Sarah, one of my next client, a few days later, the first thing she said was that there was a wolf around her and he was her spirit guide in that moment, but that they were so connected and he always came into her life through animals to check on her. So one thing that I notice is they'll come to you in these animals and it could be different, right? So it doesn't mean that they live the entire life. Let's say, you need a message and you ask for a message and you see a blue jay and they could literally like they work with animals on such a unique level that they just kind of hop in and then hop out whenever the message has been received. And Julie told me something really powerful. I don't know if I'm going to get it exactly right, but I had seen those yellow and black birds, the yellow goldfinch or something. What are those called? Goldfinch. There was 5 of them and it was just really, they were singing just so beautifully. And Julie told me to go outside and just close your eyes and be with them and that their songs send you messages. It was something like that, right, Julie?
Yes, one of the things that I love to do because I love the bird song too, but I will go sit outside and just close my eyes and tune into the bird. And sometimes I get really crazy visuals and stuff like that. It's not just like the visuals that I get, but it's also when you tune into the birds singing, you start to hear the different birds coming from all different directions. And that is really cool too. And so I think that's kind of what I was telling you to do, like go sit outside and just tune into the bird.
Yeah, I got a lot of really cool messages that day. Okay, so I have one question and then the rest, if you want to share anything else, please do. Did you notice any shifts since that past life regression yet? And if you don't have an answer, that's okay. we'll just cut that question out. But did you notice anything yet?
I have, yeah. I feel a lot lighter dealing with the grief of losing Scout, which has been really nice because there's a lot of anger and sadness, of course, but a lot of anger that I don't like holding. I mean, anger is like the worst feeling in my opinion. And there was just so much anger after he passed that I was struggling so hard with. And it's not been that long, I don't know, 6 months or more since he passed, but I feel so much lighter. I feel like the grief stages are winding down a little bit. I'm not, falling into despair all of a sudden again, or, I feel like that cycle's widening. So that has been feeling really good because it's so hard to deal with grief. And I mean, Scout was like my first big loss in this life and first time like facing the death of a loved one in that way. So that was all new to me too. But yeah, really difficult, really sticky feelings. But like I said, I've been feeling so much lighter. And I think that had to do with the second scene with the dog or the wolf that had passed and talking about the block in my stomach. And you had asked what that feels like. And I said undigestible. And that felt so much of what I was dealing with this year with Scout's passing. It's so undigestible. Like, what do I do with this huge chunk of pain and anger? And it's not fitting anywhere. And I don't know how to express it. But I feel like I've been moving through that in an intuitive way. Yeah, that whole scene I think was so healing. The experience mirrored what I feel too in this life because I was talking about the burial and how the soil was healing and how I felt okay to let go because this wolf was being mothered by the earth now and I can let go for that reason. And that just like killed me to listen back to hear that. It was so painful. I don't know, to let go. But yeah, that whole scene was so healing. And I'm sure on many more levels than what I was describing, but it felt really healing. And just another way to communicate grief and express grief. And I remember also mentioning the snowflakes around and feeling like they were magical in some way. And yeah, I really, really love snow. And I think I really love water. I'm really connected to water, and snow is water. And, ice, snowflakes, all of that has the same healing energy, I feel. So that felt like a really magical little scene at the burial site of that wolf.
Beautiful. It just like thinking about it now, it makes me want to cry because of how beautiful it was. And it's so true that, they become one with Mother Nature and their beautiful souls are just making this earth so much better for humans as well as I think Mother Nature itself. And I was telling Julie, like, I'm so thankful that you wanted to work with me for this session, especially just because I had lost one of our foster dogs. And this was a lot more than 6 months, I guess, spring, but it still hurts, and it, like you said, it goes in phases of that grief wave, just like sometimes you're angry and sad and there's the despair and regret sometimes, in my case of maybe I could have done something differently before. Anyway, that's a long story, but I felt so much healing from your session. And that's why I really wanted to share it on the podcast, just because I know that losing a companion, which is what you called this wolf in that life, is so painful. And it's something that we can't not go through. What's the word? We can't avoid. We can't avoid it. So finding this new perspective just really helped me. And so when I think a couple days later, I, in my mind, had that visual of having a burial for Toe, and it was so beautiful and powerful. So I thank you for that. And I'm going to cry now. So Julie, go ahead.
Wow. I just want to say thank you for sharing that, both of you, because grief is something that people experience all the time. There's no doubt in my mind that the two of you were supposed to have this session together to experience this healing together because it's what you both needed at the time. And maybe you didn't know that, but I want to say this because Steph and I, we have two separate businesses. We do this podcast together because of these connections and because we want to share these stories. But people don't have to come to both of us. You are drawn to one or the other or someone else for a reason. Maybe it's a different hypnotist. It doesn't have to be us. You're drawn to work with these people for a very specific reason. And I know our teacher, Gina from Past Lives in the Divine, will say the same thing, that before you meet with us or before you meet with a hypnotist to do a past life regression, your guides and their guides are already working together to cook up this session that you're about to have. And there is no doubt in my mind, I literally have chills all over my body, that this is proof of that. Exactly what you two just described about how you both got healing and you both needed it. And I just think that is so beautiful. That is, I just love this work. It's one of the most amazing things. And it's something that you don't always know you need until afterwards. I don't know. I just love that. And I think it's important for people to know if you're drawn to work with one of us or someone else, follow that feeling because you're feeling called to work with that person for a reason.
I agree. And it's something that I guess we experience. Like if you follow your intuition, there's no wrong route or route, however you pronounce that over there.
Absolutely.
And one other thing that I wanted to bring up is you both had a session with Jude. I would love to chat with you both about that. And even if it's not for it's just like between us, because I think that it's really cool. Sarah let me listen to hers too. And I haven't had a reading by her, but as like an outsider listening to both of them, there's so many connections between you two. And so it would be really interesting to chat about that one day if you both want to. And
I need to re-listen to my session. It's been a couple of years, but
when did you get, yours was
I think 2020, 2021. I'm not sure. Time just kind of like runs together for me. I don't know. It was a few years ago, but it was amazing.
Yeah,
when was yours, Sarah?
About that. Yeah, mine was in September of this year. So
nice and fresh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to. Even just listen. I could just, listen. And it's so on point with who you both are too. And being light workers, which I mean, I think it's fair to say that we're all light workers in some way. Sarah, I know you're still figuring out what you want to do and how you want to develop your gifts. Do you have like an idea of what you're focusing on next? Is it mediumship?
I would say it's kinship and exploring all of this stuff. I don't know. I'm still at the beginning. And, when I did the session with Jude and afterwards, I was like, wow, I was not ready for all of that information because some of it I didn't know what she meant. I had been having experiences all this last year, but I didn't know all of that stuff that she was talking about. So it was a lot to take in.
I have to say that I'm a few years post reading with Jude and I'm still making connections because when I had my reading, it was in the very beginning for me too. And I feel like I mean, do we ever really stop learning? I don't think so, but I'm further along than I was back then. And I still feel like I have a lot more learning to do, but it's amazing how I look back at how far I've come and the connections that I can make from the reading that I had with her. It's literally still making those connections. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see you both in kinship because I think this year it's all about self-discovery. I don't remember.
I didn't read the email apparently because I didn't know about the WhatsApp chat. So I look at my emails like during work and I really need to stop doing that because then I forget to reply or I forget to take action and lesson learned.
And thank you, Sarah, for coming on. I know.
Thank you.
And that's it for today's episode. Until next time, stay curious.
Stay mystical.